tonight, an exclusive interview with federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre about issues facing northern BC. Plus, a disease impacting various species of deer has been popping up in the province, causing concern for hunters and ecologists. And after the Remembrance Day funding issues, the city has decided to recommit to the Veterans Charter for another 10 years. Good evening, I'm Eddie Huband and welcome to CKPG News. Our top story, the leader of the federal Conservatives, Pierre Poilievre, was in northern BC last week, announcing that Ellis Ross will be the Conservative candidate for the riding of Skeena-Bulkley Valley. In an exclusive interview with CKPG News, Adam Burles spoke to the leader of the opposition to find out what he heard during his visit north.
Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the federal Conservatives and the leader of the opposition in Ottawa, has visited northern BC twice in the last 6 months, specifically the Skeena-Bulkley Valley riding. In his most recent visit, Ellis Ross was announced as the Conservative candidate, and Poilievre had a chance to hear from Northerners, and he says his plan to address issues facing Northerners is simple.
Lower taxes, to cap spending and bring down inflation, and to remove government obstacles so we can expand ports, dig mines, harvest more lumber, and create more powerful paychecks for the people in northern British Columbia.
Many communities in northern BC are heavily involved with the resources sector, including forestry and mining. Poilievre says that if he is elected as Prime Minister, he would speed up the approval process for major projects, such as mines that he says have been hampered by the federal government.
It takes as long as 25 years to permit a mine in Canada. And that's because Justin Trudeau's anti-resource law C-69, supported by the NDP, has made it next to impossible to get mines approved.
Pierre Poilievre says that he would repeal anti-energy laws to get those projects done, but that he would put environmental protection laws in their place.
I will repeal the anti-energy laws, and I will replace them with laws that protect the environment, consult First Nations, but get things done.
However, the NDP MP for Skeena-Bulkley Valley, Taylor Bachrach, says that there is little reality in that statement.
The reality is that the Conservatives have no plan to address climate change. We have a party that has zero plan to address one of the biggest issues that we face.
Poilievre and Bachrach are both hearing concerns from the people of Northwest BC, particularly when it comes to the cost of living and inflation. But there is a difference in the translation.
The enormous deficits that Trudeau and the NDP are running are not only endangering our social programs for the future, but causing inflation and high rates in the present.
People in the Northwest know that Conservative governments mean cuts. They mean cuts to the kinds of programs and services that people rely on.
Federal polling has the Conservatives leading nationally at 40%, whereas the Liberals and the NDP are at 26% and 19% respectively. Adam Burles, CKPG News.
And Adam Burles joins us in studio now to further discuss this very interesting political development here. Adam, let's take a closer look at the Skeena-Bulkley Valley riding. This is obviously the riding that Pierre Poilievre would like to flip.
Oh, absolutely. So to give you some background and some history, the Skeena-Bulkley Valley riding has been held by the NDP for the last 20 years. So it has very much been an NDP stronghold for 2 decades now. So that, again, as you mentioned, that is something that Pierre Poilievre would like to change. He would like to flip that. He would like to turn the north blue. The north is pretty blue already, of course, with Todd Doherty and Bob Zimmer holding the Prince George seats. But if he can change that little orange blip to blue, that would be a big win for Pierre Poilievre in the next election. And
I mean, obviously Taylor Bachrach does have a very good standing in that riding. Is this going to be a riding to watch here when the election does get called?
Oh, absolutely. It's very much a battle between two veterans of politics. Ellis Ross has been in provincial politics since 2017. Taylor Bachrach has been federal politics since 2019, but before that he was the mayor of Smithers. Right. So they both have a lot of experience. They're both well-known names in that area. So it's going to be very interesting to watch when it comes down to the final polling results when the election is held. I don't think it's going to be a runaway for either party. I think it's going to be very close. People are going to have to pick between two staples in their riding. Ellis Ross, well known in the community, obviously with his work with LNG, well known on a provincial level. Taylor Bachrach is more well known federally. He's been at the federal scene now for a number of years, since 2019. Has done a lot since his time in office, most recently with his getting a passport office to the north. He's done quite a lot, which is going to be a big challenge for Ellis Ross and the Conservatives to flip that seat. But again, like I said, Ellis Ross, household name, that could change.
Now, I mean, I think it's telling that that Pierre Poilievre came up to northern BC. In talking with him, Adam, did you get the sense that he really thinks this riding is up for grabs?
I think so. I mean, to give you some perspective, we're talking about he was here last week, but he was here not that much longer ago.
Right.
I think it was just before the New Year, before Christmas. So he's been out here twice in less than 6 months. That's telling. A federal leader doesn't come to a specific riding in that amount of time when they want to change things. So it's very interesting. We haven't seen any other federal leaders come out to do that yet.
Right.
So very interesting.
It is very interesting. And just quickly, I know you mentioned the polling numbers a little bit at the end of your story there, but can you just reiterate kind of what the numbers are showing right now?
So again, Pierre Poilievre is still going very strong nationally, 40% polling nationally. The Justin Trudeau Liberals, they are slowly climbing up in the polls, 26%. So that's a bit better than what the last polling numbers before the New Year showed. NDP still at 19%. So there's still a lot of work for the NDP to do if they want to get government, and still a lot of work for Justin Trudeau if they want to continue to hold on to power. But for right now, Pierre Poilievre is looking pretty with the way things stand nationally.
Adam Burrows, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the federal government is lashing out at the U.S. Commerce Department over plans to raise duties on Canadian softwood lumber, and BC is following suit. Once again, Adam Burrows with the story.
The softwood lumber dispute shows no signs of slowing down. International Trade Minister Mary Ng says the United States has signaled its intent to raise duties to 13.86%, up from just over 8%. Ng calls the move disappointing and unwarranted, sentiments echoed in a statement issued by BC government officials. Forest Minister Bruce Ralston, Jobs Minister Brenda Bailey, and several others say the tariffs are contributing to higher prices and unstable markets on both sides of the border. And even with this news, 2024 is already shaping up to be an important year in the dispute.
This is going to be an important year because for the first time in several years, we're going to have some hearings in Washington, D.C. that could start to return money, depending on their outcomes, to Canadian and British Columbia lumber producers.
If there is the potential for money to be returned to Canadian coffers, the number could be in the billions.
The countervailing duties and the anti-dumping duties that have been collected, which now add up to over $8 billion. And in the past, once those funds start to be returned, or it looked like they might be returned, that has created the incentive for a more negotiated solution.
Thursday's decision by the Americans comes just a few weeks after the Canadian government challenged the U.S. to maintain softwood lumber duties, not raise them. In October, a NAFTA panel found that aspects of how the U.S. calculates their duties are inconsistent with federal law, but that has clearly not deterred the decision to raise duties on our lumber yet again. The ball is now in the federal government's court of how to respond. Adam Burrows, CKPG News.
10 years ago, the city of Prince George joined a small contingent of municipalities that pledged support for the community's veterans. And now, after some funding questions around the recent Remembrance Day celebrations, they reinforced that need for council to reinforce the pledge. Here's more.
It came about from a push from the local Legion to have the Veterans Affairs Office reopen a decade ago. The city became one of a handful of Canadian communities to sign a Veterans Covenant, initially launched by Councillor Garth Frizzell.
The Veterans Community Covenant offer was this vehicle for not just lobbying for reopening Veterans Affairs, which was successful, but also for demonstrating other ways that we support and celebrate our veterans and their families.
The city of Prince George followed in the footsteps of Conception Bay, Newfoundland, in committing to a covenant that pledges to support the development of partnerships supporting veterans, the reintegration of military members and all vets into the community, the efforts of community organizations to connect military personnel, and the annual ceremonies that remember veterans and honor heroes.
It was a great reminder, so I started digging back up and said, whatever became of our covenant? And it had been left we had had the success with the reopening, and it wasn't, of course, just our success. That was all across Canada. Numerous branches got reopened. But we saw that success, and then not much had happened with it. So it was a reminder, hey, we've got this vehicle, and we're one of the few communities in Canada that's actually done it. Let's go back to it, and let's recommit.
To a vet himself and a Rocky Mountain Ranger, working on this file is particularly satisfying.
City of Prince George pledges to take these actions, and so it's a bit of a vehicle for further conversations. Most folks would agree that we want to protect and preserve our heritage. We want to find ways to recognize service, whatever form that comes in. And so this recommitment, this pledge, gives a framework for the city to have that conversation.
And for Eric Depineau, a recommitment to that covenant opens doors.
How does this tie into what the municipality, what tax dollars are funding? How does this make sense for City of Prince George? And so in this case, that commitment gives us a strategic priority, a framework to say, Council, per your commitments, per your wishes under this framework, here's something you could do to try to advance that relationship.
The new and improved covenant reaffirms the willingness of maintaining a supportive environment where veterans are recognized, work to support partnerships, work with the Clayton First Nation and the Regional District to determine interest in a more regional covenant, and to formalize April 1st as the Rocky Mountain Rangers anniversary, amongst other things. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
A local 93-year-old historical figure will be receiving the Jean Clark Award this year. Clarence Boudreau has been announced as the winner of the prestigious award for historical service. He has written 2 books highlighting the history of a little-known community east of Prince George that has had significance on the creation of this community.
Well, the books are about history, and I love history, and that's why I guess they'd be recorded, but partly one of the books was done because of a reunion we had in Penny in '95. And there was 10 people living there, and there was between 500 and 600 came back. Pretty good for a small community, eh? I started out by telling all about my family, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. A lot of damage, eh? Anyway, and from there I go on to just tell my life story of all the things I've done through the years, and carry on from there.
Researchers have discovered the first cases of chronic wasting disease here in BC. The disease is fatal, affecting species such as deer, elk, moose, and caribou. And this discovery of this deadly disease is now positioning stakeholders to find a way to slow the spread. And though the deer were discovered in the Kootenays, there are fears that it will make its way to northern British Columbia.
Conclusive evidence does not exist that humans can contract chronic wasting disease from animals, though Health Canada says not to consume meat or other animal products from infected animals.
And being here in the north, we're a hunting community, we're an outdoors community, and it's not uncommon to see moose or deer in somebody's yard, so it's very, very concerning.
The 2 cases were discovered south of Cranbrook. They collected the first sample from a harvested adult male mule deer. They took the second sample from a white-tailed deer hit by a vehicle. The Canadian Food Inspection Agencies confirmed it this week.
As I said, we expected it to get here to British Columbia, and we kind of knew the path would have been through the southeastern part of the province where it was found, unfortunately, through the United States in that little corner there. So we've had monitoring programs in place for years. We've got local fish and game associations that have got drop-off points where you can submit the heads for testing. So we're just going to keep getting that message out there. It's not keep BC CWD free anymore. It's going to be more along the lines of slow down CWD in BC.
Chronic wasting disease manifests through symptoms such as weight loss, drooling, poor coordination, stumbling, or unexplained sickly behavior.
They lose their fear of humans. If you see something like that, especially in these high-risk areas like up in the northeastern part of BC or the southeastern part of BC along the border there, please report it to the Conservation Officer Service or the RAP line.
The province plans to focus on confirming details of the 2 cases and minimizing disease spread. People are urged to refrain from feeding deer in the area and handling carcasses. Dave Branco, CKPG News.
As of this morning, the lowest gas price in Prince George was sitting at $1.42.9 per liter at Costco. The lowest price in the province as of this morning was in 150 Mile House at $1.37.9 per liter. Manitoba currently has the lowest fuel prices on average in the country at 21.2 cents per liter. BC, meanwhile, has an average price of $1.60.2 per liter. We've still got lots to get to here on the show, including the Caribou Cougars U18 team, who picked up a nice win today in a rare morning game. And later, there was a fun event at Beaverley Elementary today involving lots of spaghetti.
Good evening, everybody, and happy Friday. We are going to see some sunshine for our weekend, which is going to be fantastic. Much cooler temperatures, though, as we welcome in a cold front that is going to be pushing through most of the province. So just a quick little bit of information. We do have the potential for some freezing surfaces along some of the highways. So Pine Pass included in that. Just with this cold front, it will come in quite quickly. It'll take those temperatures that have been above freezing to below freezing quite fast. So as that happens, we have the potential for any wet surfaces to freeze. So just be careful if you are going to be traveling. Mainly sunny, though, into our Saturday. Gustier winds tonight and tomorrow, but otherwise it is going to be pretty nice. Most of the action will be down here through the southern interior and southeast corners of the province, stretching a little bit into parts of Alberta. But where we are, it'll be nice and clear. So Prince George, Quesnel, Vanderhoof, all of our air quality readings today were good. And going into our snapshot, what a great way to end off the work week. Ann Spears, thanks for this one. This is a beautiful, beautiful close-up of a raven. Look at the colors in the wings and the feathers. Just absolutely stunning. Thank you very much for capturing that and sending it to us. Snapshot at ckpg.com. Email us if you have any photos you would like to have us feature. That's the best way to do it. And Eddie, I'll have a look at the weekend forecast. It'll be a bit cooler, of course, but we'll enjoy some nice blue sky.
Sounds good, Tanya. We will check back in later on. I'm not a huge fan of ravens or crows. They kind of creep me out, but it's a lovely picture nonetheless. But anyway, with Cold Snap getting underway today, the Prince George Public Library is getting in on the action. It's hosting what is called the Bookworm Boogie tomorrow. Have a look.
This year, it's Will Strout, and so he is a children's performer that performs in both English and French. Super high energy. Sounds like it's a bit rock pop, so the kids be up dancing, and the parents will be toe tapping in their seats, so it's going to be a great time. So it starts off with story time, so there'll be a little warm up to the Bookworm Boogie. So 10:15 to 10:30 is a mini story time, and then 10:30 to 11:15 is the performance. It's completely free, totally drop in. It's all ages, and we really encourage everybody to come down and enjoy the music.
This week on Entertainment Spotlight, it's yet another film produced by the hottest production company in Hollywood right now, A24. And the film is called Tuesday, starring Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Lola Pettigrew.
I just don't think you understand how Tinder works.
Can I tell you something? I know exactly how Tinder works.
Then you don't understand how flirting works.
How do you think you got here?
This fantasy drama will certainly pack an emotional punch. In it, a mother named Zora lives with her terminally ill daughter named Tuesday. But when the two are confronted with death in the form of an astonishing talking bird, they must go on an emotional journey together about life, love, and loss.
Madam, you need to say goodbye to your daughter.
This unique film is a chance for Dreyfus to step into a more dramatic role as opposed to her typical comedic wheelhouse.
I don't know what I am without you, who I am without you. I don't know what the world is without you in it.
All signs point to it being a career-defining performance for one of the most decorated actresses working, and it's a real chance to elevate her into next year's Oscar discussions.
I love you more than anything in the whole world.
You'll be okay. Promise.
Promise.
Promise, promise.
Promise, promise.
It's a directorial debut by Dana O. Pusick, and this film should be able to pull at the heartstrings with its heavy themes. Tuesday doesn't have a set release date, though it's said the film will be coming out in theaters sometime this summer.
The echo you leave, the legacy, your memory is how she lives.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Feed your team tonight with a delicious mix and match combo. Chicken, pizza, pasta, or dessert for just $8.99 per item.
The Prince George Spruce Kings are in action tonight as they prepare for an important weekend that will have a big impact on the standings. Anthony Correa is here with more on tonight's game.
Spruce Kings taking on the Cranbrook Bucks tonight at 7 o'clock, and I'm now joined by Jack Clark, voice of the Prince George Spruce Kings, for more on tonight's game. Jack, let's just start off with the obvious. This is one of the most important series for the Spruce Kings, especially late in the season here.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're kind of right where they are in the interior conference standings, kind of near the bottom, and this is a huge weekend. We are currently sitting 5 points behind them. Of course, 2 wins this weekend. We're right there, just 1 point behind them, but if they get the better of us, then we're 9 points separated away from that 6th place spot. And, you know, it's going to be hard to catch in the final, 15, 20 games of the season, especially with all the road trips that we have coming up down to Penticton and Salmon Arm next weekend, and then the island as well. Always going to be tough trips. So yeah, safe to say that these games this weekend are extremely important.
Yeah, extremely important, and you mentioned it. How about just take me through, what the Spruce Kings have to do to get the upper hand on the Bucks, starting with tonight?
Yeah, and I don't mean to sound obvious, but score more goals than the opponent and don't let in a whole lot of goals. This is a team in Cranbrook that doesn't score a lot of goals, only 94 goals for this entire season. That's near the bottom of the BCHL. So a good weekend for the Spruce Kings defensive group and goaltending kind of bounce back after they struggled last week. Charlie Zolan's going to get the start again here tonight. We know he's been a little hot and cold since he got here. We're hoping to see him hot here tonight again, as I mentioned, against a team where their offensive firepower isn't really what they're known for. And when I say score goals, I mean, Cranbrook has a new goalie as well in Braden McIntosh, who has been fantastic since coming from the NCDC to join Cranbrook. He's got a .918 save percentage. Last time the Spruce Kings saw him, he was fantastic. So beating him tonight's going to be tough, but I think it's ultimately going to fall on the shoulders of Charlie Zolan to kind of slam the door tonight.
There we go. Big weekend ahead, all at Copar Memorial Arena. Like I mentioned before, puck drop at 7 o'clock tonight. But for now, we'll throw it back to you in the studio, Eddie.
And more BCHL news as the league recently announced the expansion as they have finalized franchise agreements and integration with 5 Alberta-based teams. Effective immediately, the Blackfalds Bulldogs, Brooks Bandits, Okotoks Oilers, Sherwood Park Crusaders, and Spruce Grove Saints are now members of the BCHL. The 5 teams will engage in competition with each other for the remainder of the season and will eventually crown an Alberta champion following the conclusion of the BCHL playoffs. There's also going to be an opportunity for the champion from Alberta to meet the champ from BC in this sort of year-end competition. This comes after the AJHL suspended play for the 5 teams after word they were leaving, with the BCHL providing an opportunity for those players to once again play meaningful games.
Well, we're excited for their players. As you know, the Alberta Junior Hockey League had canceled their games after we announced that these teams were coming, so we had to react in a way that we felt was in the best interests of the 16 to 20-year-olds, all 125 of them sitting on the sidelines. So we're really happy for the players, and bringing in these Alberta teams, I think, is going to strengthen our league. Well, this is something that would never have happened if we were still in Hockey Canada, because they restrict each of the branches control a particular region. And now that border does not exist between us and Alberta, and it's made it a stronger league because, these 5 teams are well established in their communities. They're high-end teams. They get great players, and we think they'll just do nothing but add to the BCHL.
The TSX is down 34 points to close at 21,085. The Dow Jones is up 135 points to close at 38,654. And Canfor went down 47 cents to close at $16.05.
Good evening again, everyone. We are looking at a bit of a change in temperatures for most of the province, as we do have a cold front that is approaching, and that will bring the temperatures, at least in our area of the province, well below freezing, especially overnight lows. But this is a look back at the day today, and again, mainly cloudy for the day. Here and there we had some breaks, but for the most part going into our day tomorrow, it's going to be pretty nice. So we do have precipitation in the forecast for tonight, a good chance of showers or flurries, or even that mixture, that wintry sort of mix. Some gusty winds as well, up to about 40 kilometers an hour, but then clearing overnight, making way for a great Saturday. So you can see some of that moisture pushing off, and then we're left with a nice, beautiful sunny day for Saturday. Sunday looks spectacular. All the action is down here for precipitation, where they have some periods of snow coming in, but where we are, it is going to be really nice. And again, just a reminder, if you are traveling, just be cautious. Make sure you're checking Drive BC for the latest conditions. We know there was was fog earlier today, Pine Pass especially, and in some other areas. And again, with that cold front coming in and bringing the temperatures down quite quickly to below freezing, we could have some freezing and icy surfaces. So 0 is where we're going to get to for our day tomorrow, which isn't too bad, but certainly a much cooler trend than what we've been seeing as of late. -4, Fort St. John, but look at the beautiful sunshine in our half of the province. Down through the southern half, it is cloudy, anticipating actually periods of snow and rain coming through some areas, but still fairly mild down there for at least another couple of days. -4 in Mackenzie, lots of sunshine across our broadcast region. Over towards Burns Lake, a cold day tomorrow, but you'll certainly pick up some nice blue sky, and above 0 by just a couple of degrees in Quesnel and McBride. So 9 degrees in Vancouver. West Coast will be drying out for the weekend after some unsettled and rainy kind of days that they've seen the last couple, but pretty good going forward. As we go into Edmonton, it's going to be actually quite a nice day. A bit foggy through Regina tomorrow, 5 degrees, some low-lying clouds expected. 4 in Winnipeg, and then cooler but fairly pleasant as we go further east. So a sun cloud mix into our week early next week, but even into the weekend. So it all starts tomorrow. That's kind of the start of our nice clearing trend, and we'll hang on to that going into next week as well. So cold temperatures, though, a big change in these numbers than what we've been showing you the last week or more. Burns Lake -17, mostly clear tonight, much colder for your overnights, -20 tomorrow, and only up to about -5 tomorrow and Sunday, but you'll expect lots of sunshine. -12 tonight in Mackenzie. It is down to those double digits again tonight and right through the rest of the weekend, early next week even. -4 though for the high tomorrow. And around that again Sunday, but really, really nice sunshine. Sunshine in McBride as well after tonight. We are looking at some rain and snow in the mix tonight, and then up to about 2 degrees tomorrow and 3 on Sunday. So not bad for temperatures, not quite below freezing, but overnights will definitely cool down. -6 in Quesnel tonight and showers expected, up to 2 tomorrow. Lots of sunshine and a mix of sun and cloud for Sunday. And the same for us. Tomorrow will be mainly sunny, much cooler though the next few days. -1 on Sunday, mix of sun and clouds. Some gusty winds for tonight and tomorrow. Will clear out overnight after a chance of precipitation beforehand. But yes, a really pleasant weekend weather forecast on the way.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Feed your team tonight with a delicious mix and match combo. Chicken, pizza, pasta, or dessert for just $8.99 per item.
The U18 Caribou Cougars played a rare morning game today in front of a massive crowd. Anthony Correa breaks down all the action from one of the biggest high school games of the year.
Caribou Cougars hosting the Greater Vancouver Canadians, schools from all over SD 57 at Copar Memorial Arena, and they showed their support all game. We picked this one up in the second, Caribou trailing 2-1, and it gets worse as the Greater Vancouver Canadians strike not once, but twice, and the Cougars see themselves trailing 4-1 heading into the third. This is where momentum changes as Copar was rocking. It's Grady Gustafson getting one early to start the frame, and it's 4-2. Then Rylan Bissett joins the party with 11 minutes to go, tipping a puck past Jack Taylor, and it's 4-3. Caribou continues the pressure and won't give up. It's Kenyon McIsaac finding Jackson Laramond in the slot. He makes no mistake, and we're tied at 4. But the Cougars still weren't done, as on the power play, Captain Mason Lowen puts the game winner home, sends 2,000 kids wild, and completes the big comeback. Caribou would add 2 more, including an empty netter, and the Cougars with a 6-goal third period and one of the biggest wins of the year, 7-4 final.
Just knew we had to keep our heads up. We were out shooting them by a lot. And like everybody in that dressing room knows, we're not out of a game ever. So I think that's what we knew, and then we came back and fought it out.
There's a whole bunch of energy. You kind of just are in the moment. You're not really thinking, and then got a couple there. And I think you're playing for something bigger than yourself, and it's great for the kids to be happy and to get a win today.
The Prince George Cougars are also in action and return home this weekend for Nickelodeon night. We start with tonight's game as the Cats wrap up their 5-game road trip with a big game against the Vancouver Giants. This season, Prince George is 3-1 against Vancouver and will look to continue that success to close out their road trip. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. Then on Sunday, the Cougars will be licking their chops. Not only do they face the lowly Kamloops Blazers, it's also Nickelodeon night. The Cougars will be wearing special SpongeBob jerseys during the game that will be auctioned off next week. Since that game is on Sunday, puck drop will be at 2 p.m. and will kick off the first of 6 games on home ice in February. SpongeBob jerseys, can't wait for that. Now, some exciting news from the NHL and NHLPA is today they announced a return to the 2026 Olympics, which means NHLers will participate in the games once again. So tonight, we show you some of the best hockey Olympic moments from the NHL from 3 different countries in tonight's CKP3.
Starting with the most recent Olympics.
Hit by Yelason. Antilla keeps his feet though, and Antilla from a long way away scores! Antilla! 2-1 hockey game. Finland score in the first 31 seconds of the third. Done! It's over! The boys in blue are golden for the first time ever! The champions of Beijing!
It's the first ever gold for Finland on the ice rink. This taking place at the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. No NHLers on the ice for this one, but they'll be a tough team to beat in 2026. Next, a USA legend.
Gliding along slowly. Score! Moving in slowly again. He scores! He scores! Duel again.
TJ Oshie shot 6 times in the shootout, 5 straight times after round 3. One of the most legendary performances of all time to win the game for the US. Finally, the golden goal. We're just letting you take in that crowd in Vancouver. Jerome McGinley with an incredible pass to Sid the Kid, and he scores the most famous goal in Canada hockey history as the golden goal takes top spot in tonight's CKP3.
Hello from the CKPG Today side. Of course, the wedding proposal contest. Yes, I have to interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to tell you, you need to enter this. If you're engaged right now, we want to give you a prize for just being engaged, being in love. That kind of stuff, you know. You can enter online at ckpgtoday.ca. Take home a pretty sweet prize package. Of course, all we need to hear is your wedding story of how you proposed. That's all we want to hear. We need a picture of you too. Head online. It's that easy. Plus, we got some more great content coming up on the show today as well. The regular Friday segments with the YMCA, Velma versus Clinton, and we'll kick off Cold Snap as well. It's kicking off tonight in the city. How about you over there? Which band are you excited for in Cold Snap this year? I'm definitely looking forward to Shane Cook and the Woodchippers.
If I had to pick one, Caden, I think I'd go with No Big D. It's an all-female band. I believe they're from Quesnel, and they look very interesting, so I'm looking forward to potentially going to see them play a show. And to finish up our show, constructing spaghetti bridges is a hands-on engineering project that's both fun and educational. And some students at Beaverley Elementary took on this challenge today, which required participants to build a bridge using only uncooked spaghetti and glue. Here's Dave Branco on what was cooking for the kids.
Understanding the strength of pasta, a creative mind, and engineering skills while providing valuable insights into structural principles is the recipe for building a spaghetti bridge.
Teamwork, it's group work. They have a mission and the teachers are not controlling it. It's student driven. They build their blueprints, they test, they fail, they test again. They get a smidgen of success, they talk as a class, they talk as a team.
For these students, the most enjoyable aspect of building spaghetti bridges is the freedom it offers for creativity. Participants are not confined to specific blueprints, allowing them to experiment with designs and construction techniques.
Not too many triangles because that would add too much weight, but enough to the point where it can distribute the weight enough.
To try and go with a lighter design than other ones and not make it too tricky to build.
Constructing a spaghetti bridge prompts teamwork and cooperation, as participants must combine their ideas and abilities to produce a structure.
A lot of conversation, a lot of consensus building. There's been tears, there's been frustration on teams, there's been some meltdowns, not all of them mine. And it has really forced these kids to create a common goal, agree on a plan, and through adversity work toward that plan. And if they've changed the plan, it had to be a team agreement.
The team that built the strongest bridge moved up to the provincial spaghetti bridge competition on the Lower Mainland later this year. Dave Branco, CKPG News.
That's all for tonight, folks. Thanks so much for joining us as always. Your last look this evening is Yellowhead Bridge, and it's a view of a Yellowhead Bridge through some trees there. Lovely. Yeah, love that one. All right, folks, we did it. We made it through the week. Have yourselves a great weekend. Enjoy Cold Snap, and we will see you Monday.